Okay, well, let's continue on the subject of taxes. You mentioned cutting the corporate tax, cutting the income tax. Do you think we need to go to more of a consumer-based tax system versus an income tax? I mean, would you be in favor of kind of switching that around completely?
It's worth looking at, most definitely. I don't know if I'd be in favor of switching it completely, but I'd definitely be open to options that, as far as anything that would help, um, anything that helps out us, taxation wise. I'm definitely open to. So yeah, I'd definitely be open to looking at that.
How about something like a gradual? Kurt Zellers, I know, had a bill last year that would, I think it was lower the corporate tax 1% each year until it was
Until it's
completely gone,
eliminated,
and
yeah.
give that certainty out there. Do you think
Mhm.
that's something that would really help?
I think it would,
businesses?
absolutely
Yeah.
would, absolutely, especially businesses in this climate, definitely.
Yeah, with all the stuff, all the uncertainty over in Washington, it would certainly help. I'm sure. Well, let me move to the spending side a little bit, and what we spend the most money on is educating kids here in
Mhm.
Minnesota. What do you think, just generally speaking, of the education system, the job we do? Do you think the public school system is doing the job right now, or do we need a little tweaking in that system?
Well, I think when it comes to government, I think that a little tweaking is in order very often.
Yeah.
I looking at just my daughter. She'll be in the public school system in a couple of years, and I got to tell you, right now I'm leaning towards a charter school. And I don't know if I want my daughter in the public school system right now, but it just seems every couple of years we're asked to give more money, and you have to ask the question, where did that money go? Robbinsdale, for instance. We just passed the levy, and a couple of years ago.
Oh wait. Yeah.
Oh wait, we passed the levy, and all of a sudden we're looking at it's looking like they're going to need to pass another referendum sooner than they would expect.
And by the way, he said that, not me. So, yes, 281 people who want to email me, just remember Nick said that, not me. I'm just kidding.
But you look at things like that, and in this economic downturn, this economic climate, they had authorized the teachers to all get a raise, and I'm all for people getting raises. Believe me, I think that if you do a good job, you deserve a little bit more money. But you have to be a little bit more sensitive when it's taxpayer dollars that you're talking about. And once they did that, all of a sudden the district is at a $5 million deficit. So then they had to make some hard decisions. They had to make some cuts to some programs that they needed, and it just makes you wonder, was that the right decision? And that's not a decision that I get to make or you get to make. Unfortunately, that's on the school board. But in this climate, I just didn't think that was a wise decision, and it showed after a $5 million deficit afterwards.
Yeah, what do you think, about issues at the state level, like ending some mandates and, changing tenure laws? I mean, you think that those need to be pursued and
Very,
need
very
to be
hardcore. They need to be
aggressively?
pursued.
Yeah.
According to the League of Minnesota Cities, they had in their wording, it was hundreds of unfunded mandates that they have to deal with, and these mandates are just killing them. There's so much stuff that they have to do because of these mandates that they really can't focus on the things that they need, like basic services. Getting back to schools, we're talking about No Child Left Behind, some of the mandates that creates. If the government, in my opinion, if the federal government is mandating something and they can't keep their word, so they're not funding it fully like they had promised, in my opinion, that's a breach of contract, and we need to look at our 10th Amendment and say, you're not doing your end of the bargain, then we're just going to go ahead and pull out.
Yeah, you brought up the 10th Amendment, and that's something that I think to a lot of people on our side is not being respected by Washington. And we'll get back in education in a minute, but since you brought that up, let me ask this. I mean, the federal government throws a lot of things on the backs of the states, whether it's Medicaid dollars, whether it's No Child Left Behind, whether it's highway funding and that kind of thing. And I feel like government should work from the bottom up, not from the top down. How do we reverse that trend? I mean, where does it start, and what should states be doing to reassert their rights under the Constitution?
Well, I think a prime example of that is the Obamacare, the national health care. I think you're looking at all the states that are, their attorney generals are filing suits and saying, hey, this is unconstitutional, we are not going to take part in this. I think that's going to be a huge factor. If you look at it, what it's going to do to businesses, you're going to penalize a business I think it's 8% or some number like that, but you're going to penalize a business for not providing your employees with health care. And is that really the role of the federal government, is to penalize a small business for not providing their employees with health care? Should we move to a more open market system, which I think we should?
Yeah.
So it's not I'm working for a company, and it's, what are you going to do for me? What are your benefits going to, how are you going to provide me with benefits? And the attitude should be, what can I do to help the company survive? How can I help the company grow? And I think if you have that attitude shift, you're going to have more of an open market based, healthcare system that you can actually, there's a lot better competition out there. Prices will be lower, and then you're talking about lower prices for healthcare. If we get rid of tort reform, so a doctor's not worried about getting sued every procedure that they make, little common sense things like that, a little bit will add up a lot.
Yeah. Okay, well, since you jumped to healthcare on that, we'll just ask another question. Now, it's the law in Minnesota that only non-for-profits can provide health insurance, and I think we have Blue Cross Blue Shield, Medica, Health Partners.
Yeah, I think a couple other maybe,
yeah, some small ones. I mean, what can the state do? Forget Obamacare for a minute, but what else can the state do to lower healthcare costs and to bring in that competition?
Well, like you said, open up the markets. Get rid of these ridiculous laws that say only this group can participate, and only this group can sell it, and only this group can administer it. Open it up to everybody. Once you have it open up to everybody, you're going to find that prices are going to go down, because all of a sudden a newcomer is going to come in and say, you know what, you've got too much administrative costs. We can do it for much lower. And in turn, that company that had the higher cost is going to say, well, if we eliminate this and this, we can be more competitive. That's how you're going to get lower prices in a true, competition, a true capitalist system.
Yeah, we still do have a capitalist system out there.
It's out there. It's out there.
It's out there somewhere. Well, let me bring up some spending issues. One of the things, I live in Crystal, and we get a lot of local government aid. Okay, and the city thinks that that's free money. And the county money, they think that's free money, and it's all our money. And I know New Hope gets a lot of local government aid, whereas cities like Golden Valley and Plymouth are paying into that system. What do you think of the system of local government aid? I mean, is it a good system? Is some of it necessary? I mean, what are your overall impressions of that issue?
I think when it started, its design and its purpose was to provide cities that couldn't afford it, that didn't have the large tax bases, basic services that they can now afford. Like a police, fire departments,
water and sewage,
sewage, snow removal, road plows, that sort of thing. I think that's what it was originally designed to help out with. And then you end up, now you have cities like Minneapolis and St. Paul and Duluth that have some of the largest tax bases in the state are getting the lion's share of local government aid. And you just can't, all of a sudden little towns like Askov and little towns like McGregor all of a sudden that's where my cabin is, by the way, and no, I will not be slipping in any fishery amendments. You have my word on that.
Big Sandy Lake?
Lake Minnewawa, actually.
Okay.
The smaller one, but
not
still
far away. Yeah.
But anyways, getting back to local government aid, if we reform the system so cities that truly need the help can get it, and cities like Minneapolis are getting less and less and probably even move towards zero because they do have such a large tax base. I think my city, New Hope, has moved to a position where they're not really counting on it because it's getting cut every year. So I believe that they're basing their budget of not getting local government aid. And I think some of the larger suburb cities really need to start looking at doing that. What ends up happening is it gets cut, they know it's coming, and the first thing they cut is police and fire and basic services. But the pavers, those nice pavers are still in, the expensive lamp posts are still in, the decorative flowers are still in, and it just kind of all gets back to prioritizing. Does the city really need that stuff? No, we need police, we need fire, we need those basic services. This little extra stuff that local government aid seems to be paying for, that's where the system has gone to, where it's evolved.
Yeah, not every city needs a hockey rink or an auditorium or anything like that. I try to tell the city of Crystal that all the time. Hi guys, I know you're watching, but